Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Tampa's virtual Sunday service. Today's participants are being recorded live, but not from our facilities on Morris Bridge Road here in Tampa, but from our various homes. I'm Russ Patterson, and I've been a Unitarian for 32 years and a member of this congregation since 2005. Thank you for attending our service today. If you're a first-time visitor, I hope you hear something today that will bring you back again for more of our services. If you are a second, third, or even fourth-time visitor, thank you for coming today. We hope that you will consider joining us soon as a member. If you are a member of our church, we say thank you, thank you, thank you for your continued support and participation during this pandemic. Your ongoing participation and financial support during the pandemic has helped keep morale up and has made it possible for us to pay our employees, keep the air and lights on, and maintain our facilities throughout these days. We welcome Reverend Kathy Schmitz as our minister today. She is an ordained Unitarian Universalist minister. She has served congregations in Massachusetts, Texas, and Florida, both as a settled minister and as an interim. She has a passion for interfaith work and is a longtime environmentalist activist and advocate for social justice. Semi-retired, when she is not off visiting grandchildren, Reverend Kathy resides in Orlando with her husband, Charlie Behrens. We open our service today with our traditional stone ritual. I'll place 3 stones in a basket. The first stone represents a joy you may have had this past week. The second stone represents a sorrow. And the third stone represents intentions for the coming week. We will now light our chalice with these words by David Beaton, "Into the Circle," with permission secured by Soul Matters. We gather into this circle. We gather into this circle of care to dream, to envision, to embody and achieve the compassion we dream, the justice we envision, the dignity of each in an ever-growing circle of love and justice. Our first hymn for today is "For All That Is Our Life," number 128 in the Gray Hymnal, led by D. Lynch.
We sing our thanks and praise, for all life is a gift which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad. For needs which others serve, for services we give, its rewards, for hours of rest and love, we come with praise and thanks for all that is our life. For sorrow we must bear, for failures, pain and loss, for each new thing we learn, for fearful hours that we come with praise and thanks for all that is our life. For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise, for all life is a gift which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad.
Many thanks to Dee for that beautiful version of that hymn. I love that one. It's great to be with you again today. I look forward to when it can be in person, but I'm always happy to be with you. I'd like to start this morning with a story. It's from my colleague, Christopher Weiss. Once upon a time, there was a village with a road that went straight through the center of town. One day, a strange thing happened. God walked down the road, and she was beautiful. She wore long, flowing robes, and on top of her head was a wonderful hat. All the people stopped to stare at God as she walked by, and they kept staring until she had disappeared into the distance. Wow, God sure was beautiful, said one man. And what a beautiful hat she was wearing. I would love to see a blue hat like that. Yes, said a woman from the other side of the street. God was beautiful, but it wasn't a blue hat she was wearing. It was a red hat. You're wrong, said the man. It was definitely a blue hat. No, you're wrong, said the woman. It was definitely a red hat. The two argued and others joined into the dispute. Soon the whole village was arguing. All the people on one side of the road were certain God was wearing a blue hat, and all the people on the other side joined that person and said that God was wearing a red hat. People got mad and started screaming at each other. Finally, the people got so angry, they decided to build a wall straight down the center of town. From that point on, people on one side of the wall were enemies with the people who lived on the other side of the wall, and they never spoke to each other. On one side of the wall, the people built a church where they worshiped a God that wore a blue hat. And on the other side of the wall, the people built a church and worshiped a God that wore a red hat. Many years passed, and the people were still enemies. And then, one day, God came walking back through the village. She was smiling and balancing on top of the wall that people had built so many years ago. And this time, she was wearing no hat at all. All the people on the wall ran to the wall and cried, "You must settle our argument." "Yes," said one man. "The people on that side of the street say that when you walked through this village many years ago, you were wearing a blue hat. But we know better. We know you were wearing a red hat. So tell us, God, what color was your hat?" God looked puzzled for a moment. She began to scratch her head and thought, "I think I remember walking through this village many years ago," said God. "And on that day, I believe I was wearing my hat that is blue on one side and red on the other." And saying nothing more, God continued walking down the wall until she disappeared off into the distance. It was very quiet for a moment. Suddenly, there was a sound of one child laughing. And then another child laughed, and another. And soon the whole village was roaring with laughter. Everyone was laughing because they realized how foolish they had been. As the sound of laughter grew louder and louder, the wall began to shake and to crumble until finally it came tumbling down to the ground. And for many years after that day, the people told the story of God's hat and how laughter had torn down the wall between a divided and foolish people. That story, brought to us by Reverend Weiss, is based on an African legend that he heard third hand. So now I would like to consider for our time of meditation an expression that's often used in Unitarian Universalist congregations. Maybe you've heard it at some point. We say, love is the doctrine of this church, right? Love is the doctrine of this church. And it's a simple message, but one that challenges us again and again to open our hearts. Sometimes it's phrased as love is the spirit of this church. So this morning, I'd like to invite you to practice one way of being more loving. It comes from the Buddhist tradition, and it's called metta or loving kindness meditation. And it's the practice that goes with the teachings I spoke about last month. And it also happens to support today's topic. Whenever I offer an invitation, you have a choice. If you aren't ready to try it, you can sit quietly while others try it. In loving kindness meditation, you start with yourself thinking loving thoughts, and then you make bigger and bigger circles of loving thoughts. Bigger and bigger circles. So I invite you now to a time of meditation and reflection. Sit firmly but comfortably. You might like to lower or close your eyes. Relax and breathe as I guide the process. So take a breath. Start with yourself. Imagine you're in a little circle. And now think these thoughts. May I be free from danger and unafraid. May I be happy in body, mind, and spirit. May I live with ease of well-being. At any time, you can return to this place and offer yourself care and concern. It is our center, our starting place. Now, I invite you to expand your circle of care and concern. And if you'd like, bring to mind a person you love or for whom you have deep gratitude. And with this person in mind, offer these thoughts. May this person be free from danger and unafraid. May this person be happy in body, mind, and spirit. May this person live with ease of well-being. Now, opening our circle a little wider. If you'd like, bring to mind a person you like or of whom you are fond. May this person be free from danger and unafraid. May this person be happy in body, mind, and spirit. May this person live with ease of well-being. And now, opening further, I invite you to bring to mind a person you feel neutral about. Perhaps the person you bought your newspaper from this morning or someone you saw out walking their dog. May this person be free from danger and unafraid. May this person be happy in body, mind, and spirit. May this person live with ease and well-being. Now, if you like, bring to mind a person you have difficulty with. For now, don't choose your most challenging person. This is a practice. Begin slowly. Remember, you can always return to offering care and concern to yourself. So now, with this next person in mind, offer these words. May this person be free from danger and unafraid. May this person be happy in body, mind, and spirit. May they live with ease of well-being. And now, opening our circle wide, I invite you to offer your care and concern to all the world. May all beings be free from danger and unafraid. May all beings be happy in body, mind, and spirit. May all beings live with ease of well-being. Love. Love is the doctrine of this church. A simple message, yes, but one that challenges us again and again and again to open our hearts ever wider. Let us take just another moment in shared silence. Love is a doctrine of this church. Today, for our sermon, I'd like to invite you to visit my lily pad. Welcome. My lily pad is a metaphor for my worldview. Everything I know, I think I know, or how I've made sense of it. My lily pad is pretty good size, and if I sit down in the middle of it, I can barely see the edges. I'm untroubled by anything out there beyond the edges of my lily pad. Nothing that might distress me or call my understanding into question tends to reach me in here. It's a pretty comfy place. Perhaps you have a lily pad too, a place where you can sit and feel comfortable as you gaze around. Now, I do want to acknowledge that not everyone's lily pad is quite as comfortable as mine. I acknowledge a certain amount of privilege that I have to have such a place of unquestioned comfort. But I do like my lily pad. Now, since we're going to be spending some time on lily pads today, I want to invite those of you who are, say, metaphorically challenged to do your best to play along. I'll try to give you some markers along the way. Also, I'll mention that like most metaphors, this one's fragile. You can probably break it with very little effort if you try. You don't get a gold star for that, so let go of that. It's also probably important to mention that this is a magic lily pad. So I apologize in advance to any botanists or amateur lily pad experts that we have with us today, who are likely to be troubled by some of the claims I will make about my lily pad. Now, when I was little, my lily pad was little. My vision was short. First, I could see only my family, and that was what made up my lily pad. Then, eventually, I could see the small town I grew up in, and my lily pad grew. Whenever I became aware of something beyond my lily pad, I could wander over to the edge and explore it. Think about what this means. We can wander over to the edge of everything that we know and learn more. And here's the magic. As we stand on the edge of all of our understanding, and we take in more, right there, under our feet, the lily pad grows. The thing that was out there, outside of our understanding, can be incorporated into our worldview. The lily pad grows. Can you think of a time that happened for you? Something was out there and mysterious, and then it became part of your understanding. It can be nerve-wracking, standing on the edge, facing the unknown. It can be tempting to turn tail and run back to the center of the lily pad, drop our gaze, and maybe look the other way. It can be tempting to reject opportunities to grow. But here's the thing. If we are brave enough to stand on the edge, to risk falling into the unknown, we grow and our worldview grows. And then when we go back to the center of our lily pad, we can look any way we want with confidence, without fear. And the world that we understand is fuller and richer and likely more accurate than the world we knew before. All because we did not turn away from new understanding. It is good to grow our lily pad. Can you think of a particular time when you faced something new, the unknown, and grew? We've actually had a lot of common opportunities in the last 2 years. Let's look at just one of them. In February of 2020, a month before shutdown, so 2 years ago, many of us had never done Zoom before. And now it's a regular form of communication. It was probably pretty scary that first time with everything else that was going on. We've experienced so many new things. And as we embraced them, we became more confident and we can see things more clearly. Now, while most of us look forward to that time when we can be back in person without concern, what we have learned has grown our lily pads individually and collectively. Think about just worship alone, right? Being online means that if we choose, we now have ways to include people who have moved away, who aren't feeling well today, who are homebound or immunocompromised, who are traveling or snowbirding. If we choose, we can welcome a family who's got too much going on today to get here, or a shy person that's not yet ready to walk through the door. We could welcome folks from another congregation whose worship team needs a break today, or a guest speaker from the other side of the country. It can be challenging to grow our lily pads, but when we do, we have so much to gain. Our circle of concern of who we can include expands. I'm reminded of our third Unitarian Universalist Association principle that says, we covenant to affirm and promote acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations. We encourage growth. The principle specifically calls out spiritual growth. And as you may remember, I use the word spiritual to refer to how we are connected, whether to nature, God, the universe, human community, connection. For me, creating a larger and richer and more accurate worldview represents spiritual growth. It helps us better understand the world. It helps us in our meaning making. We encourage growth. That's what the third UUA principle says. But I don't want to move off the principle without noting that it first says, we affirm and promote acceptance of one another. For this acceptance is a way that we can help each other find the center of our lily pads. Because I really do wish for everyone to have a place that they can go back to and find comfort when they need it. When we accept one another, we say we affirm each other and we help each other know that we are enough. Because sometimes life is rough. And even those of us with fairly robust lily pads will get knocked about. I think of it like when the wake of a boat comes along and rocks the lily pad. It can be good to be in the center right then so we don't get knocked off. When life is giving us challenges, significant losses, or even meaningful transitions, it might not be the time to run to the edge looking for more challenges. I remember this one time when I signed up for a retreat. My mom had just died and the time away with colleagues sounded so good. But when I arrived, I realized I hadn't focused on the program content for the retreat, and it was a fairly challenging topic. I wasn't in a good place for the challenging opportunity that unfolded. It was easy for me to get mad at the retreat organizers for making me uncomfortable, when in reality, what they had offered was a rich opportunity that I might have really appreciated under other circumstances. I try to remember this experience so that in the future, when I find myself in such places, I can excuse myself or do what I need to take care of myself and not lash out at others who haven't done anything wrong. Can you think of a time when you really needed to be in the middle of your lily pad? Or can you think of a time when someone else needed that and perhaps they declined a challenge of growth opportunity that you were offering? Can we learn to be compassionate with ourselves and each other at such times. Our loving kindness meditation today is a reminder of the ways we can expand our circle of concern outward, opening our heart to ever greater circles, increasing the chances that we will understand the experiences and perspectives of another. And even if we can't understand, we can at least offer compassion and love. We all have times when we need to go to the center, when we need acceptance more than another chance to grow, when what we need most is just to be okay with who we are today. And then, when we are ready, it will be time to venture out again. When I ventured out again after the retreat, I found that my lily pad had grown. My life experience now included losing my last parent, something I had only understood intellectually before, but now understood at a deeper level. And of course, while I can try to protect myself a bit in my grieving time, we can't protect ourselves from all life's challenges. After all, I didn't choose to lose my mother. Some changes aren't optional. Growth from them is. Sometimes we choose growth. Sometimes growth chooses us. I think of the villagers in our story earlier. One half of the village had a view that said God wore a red hat, and it became a worldview. The other half saw God wore a blue hat. Both missed the opportunity to grow their view to the possibility of a red and blue hat, and don't even start on the chance they missed to grow their view to the possibility that God's hat didn't really matter at all. We can really miss out when we pass up opportunities to grow our lily pads. I first started understanding my lily pad after attending a workshop about 9 years ago with Dr. Mark Hicks. Dr. Hicks is a professor of religious education at Meadville Lombard Theological School, which trains Unitarian Universalist ministers. He is also the creator of the Beloved Conversations program, which some of you may be familiar with. The title of the workshop he offered was Dancing on the Edge of Meaning. I kept imagining what that would look like, dancing on the edge of meaning. That week, I learned many things about expanding our understanding and challenging our preconceived notions. And over the course of the workshop, my lily pad emerged. There I was, encountering new learning, up on my toes, twirling around, tipping over the edge, pulling back, watching my understanding grow. A few years later, I had occasion to attend another workshop with Dr. Hicks. I described the lily pad to him, and he seemed truly bemused. Like, really? That's what you got out of my workshop? Okay, then. And so, as I described this image to you, I purposely chose not to include any visual images. I want you to do what you will with it. Let me offer a couple of lily pad options for you, expansion packs, if you will. So here's a question. What happens when the new thing we learn proves something we used to know to be false? Say we grew up in a religious tradition that labels some people sinners. And now, in our current understanding, we instead see those same people as children of love. What happens to the part of the lily pad that represents the old understanding? Should we cut it off, let it float away, pretend it never existed? But would that be an accurate representation of reality? I wonder if instead we might imagine those understandings as a discoloration, something that we might see as a blemish, something that stays with us, part of our lily pad, but no longer defines us, something that gives us insight into those who continue to hold a view we no longer agree with. If you come from such a place, then you understand it much better than those who never have. Are there blemishes on your lily pad? Reminders of the understandings you have let go of, but which continue to inform your understanding of the world. And here's another thing I think about. I think about the Asian understanding of the lotus. It is an acknowledgement that the beauty we see on the surface of the water, in fact, has its roots in the mud and muck below. The worldview represented by our lily pads may seem neat and clean, but I would guess that for most of us, an honest look at what lies beneath would reveal that we have been through a good deal of mud and muck to get to where we are today. So what mud and muck has nurtured you to become the you that you are today? Thinking about my lily pad comes in handy when I encounter some of the challenging issues that the world asks of me today. For example, issues around race, disability, gender identity. We are all called to expand our understanding. And sometimes I want to run back to the middle of my privileged lily pad. Honestly, sometimes I do. But I really do try to go dancing instead, to shimmy right up to the edge of what I understand, to get up my tiptoes and twirl and engage with whatever I find there, even when it's scary, even when it's hard, even when I mess up. Because if I keep dancing and exploring that edge right there under my feet, the magic happens. And I am no longer standing precariously on the shaking leaf edge with waves lapping at my feet. Something has shifted. My perspective has changed. My world has grown. My lily pad is bigger. And the gift of engagement has been a fuller, deeper, and truer view of the world I live in. And this is the real magic. This is the real magic with which I leave you. When this happens, when my understanding of the world becomes fuller and deeper and richer, I rest more secure that in growing my lily pad, in widening my circle, I have made the world a better place, not only for me, but for everyone that I encounter. May it be so. Our hymn is number 1017, Building a New Way.
Thank you, Kathy, for your wonderful words today. And thank you, Dee, for our music for today, both outstanding. For several years, we've been sharing our offering plate on the first Sunday of the month with a special charity. This Sunday, we will share the plate with the McDonald Training Center. The center shatters barriers and opens doors to opportunities for people with all disabilities. United with a shared purpose, they work to make our community more inclusive, equitable, flexible, and open to the talents of all people. You may donate to the McDonald Center at our church website, uutampa.org, on the Share the Plate line. We appreciate your continued and generous support of our church and this organization. Thank you very much for joining us in worship today. After the service, please stay online and join us for our virtual coffee hour. We close our service and extinguish our chalice with these words by Reverend Rod Richards. Ever widening, perfectly imperfect, precisely imprecise. Permission was secured from Soul Matters. You won't be alone. We'll be side by side with one another, with people yet to come, with partners we have yet to meet, creating ever widening, perfectly imperfect, precisely imprecise circles and ovals and oblong things of beauty as we practice sacred flexibility, welcoming love and healing pain and demanding justice and saving lives. Go forth and make some new shapes. Thank you again for joining us today. Goodbye.